everyone masturbates. Pretending.
Well, some people do actually.
So
but
I'm not saying, I'm not saying specifically I don't know what age that is. I have not studied developmental psychology to know what age is appropriate to do that. But pretending like something like masturbation doesn't exist is harmful. It's harmful. And this was the Department of Education at the time was saying we don't want to teach about masturbation to any.
Well, that's because it's a hot button topic. Like sexuality in America, I'm going to sound like such a feminist here, is very, very repressed. It comes from all this puritanical kind of Quaker sort of stuff like, oh, you don't touch the naughty parts, sex is a really taboo thing, whereas other cultures view it as a part of life, a part of, you have to do that to procreate.
But there are many extremes as far as sexuality goes with cultures, and cultures still exist to this day.
Third culture, third gender cultures, like the ladyboys and stuff, and what was it? What culture is that? Samoan, I think?
It's not just in Thailand, in a lot of parts in Indochina. It's just transsexuals are just a commonly or transvestites or transsexuals or transgender are just very common. It is not really something that people make fun of over there.
But this is a perfect rallying point issue. You were talking about how good the Republicans are at stirring up their base. Their base is like the most awesome church-going kind of do-goody two-shoes people around typically, and I'm trying not to stereotype, but I just did it. And their best tools is the gay marriage, the abortion, these other things. Then the liberals do it too, but on the polar extreme, and you're going to lose your freedom and you're going to have to go to church. And the Republicans do it in the way that, they're going to ban churches and they're going to make you marry a black guy and then abort the baby and this sort of thing.
Sure, yeah.
And it's just strums up those emotions really, really high, and it gets people voting for crazy things. Like here in Mississippi, they had the amendment that life starts at conception. I don't know if you saw about that, but that was in my state.
Yeah. And then also it just happened in another state. Kansas just made I think, Liz, are you there? Was it Kansas? It's now abortion is now illegal in Kansas, right? Practically illegal. Yeah.
So this makes sense to some people. They view abortion as killing babies. I know there's a rights issue and a health issue, but that's how they see it. They see it as killing babies. It's hard to kind of pull the baby murder out of the brain and look at it any more objectively. But here they almost voted for to make personhood at conception, which meant that almost all forms of birth control and the pill and all that would be illegal. And there were tons of people supporting it. And, I went to church, and I go to church on occasion. They had all the signs out, and I was just talking to people somewhat closer to my age and be like, that means birth control is going to be a legal right. And they're like, what?
Yeah.
Are you serious? And then you could see some opinions changing very, very quickly there.
Yeah, then it goes on to contraception, like what about those potential sperm that could have impregnated? It is so weird that religious institutions are very interested and keen on breeding. They want to spread that population of Catholics or Muslims or whoever. It's like contraception is bad because they want to populate. And whether or not they'll come out and say that, it's just that's what's happening. If you look at it, that's what's happening.
Theories. You've got, actually, back in the day...
Well, yeah, it's not a theory in my mind.
Yeah, no, some churches very legitimately did this. Like, back in the 1900s, they would have pastors say, you need to make more children for the church, and it was not terribly common, but it happened. And then it's also...
And Jews in this country, when they go on their pilgrimage to Israel, they are greeted... It's like a group... 120-year-old kids that are making their pilgrimage to Israel because that's what you're supposed to do as a Jew.
Mm-hmm.
And they show up and they're greeted by Orthodox Jews that live in Israel, and they tell them, tonight, go to your hotel rooms, sleep with each other, party, have a good time. It is so strange. But Judaism doesn't have the same puritanical views of sexuality that Islam and Christianity does, and to some extent Buddhism as well, and a lot of other religions. But
I'm not very familiar with their marriage laws. So you want to inform me on that one?
Whose marriage laws? Israel?
Judaism in general.
Their marriage laws, or just
the sex before marriage thing, that sort of thing.
Well, sexual intercourse is a big no-no, no matter what. But I do think. There's a lot of different sects of Judaism. So some very strict Orthodox Jews will say absolutely nothing, no, don't even touch. I have a friend, I won't say his name. I have a friend who used to be awesome, and now he doesn't even hug women. Our old friends that we all hug each other. We're huggers, and he'll hug all the guys, and when women that haven't seen him in a long time, I almost said his name. blank, how you doing? Blah blah blah, and he'll put his hands up and say, I can't hug you. I can't get behind that. But then there are also some sects of Judaism, SECTS for all you young people that are listening, of Judaism that believe that some sexual contact is okay before marriage, but just not intercourse. So some people take it as far as saying you can have anal sex or oral sex before marriage, but you can't have vaginal intercourse.
It's funny how that works. Did you see the picture of the Orthodox Jew on the plane today that put himself in a plastic bag because there were women on the plane?
Oh, man.
This was on the internet. He got like a giant baggie, like a clear bag, and put it over his head and his whole body, and it looked like he was choking in there from all the stuff foaming up because there were women on the plane. But it can get really silly. That is based around the idea that men are just fucking. I hate it. That's a sexist idea in itself, because what you're saying right there is that as a man you have no control over your impulses. Fuck off! You don't see me running around raping everything that I think is attractive because I'm fucking sane. Like, why do you need? It doesn't make any sense. Now you're talking about cultural, we'll say, expectations. In our culture, we place the expectation of control on the male. It's the male's responsibility to control their actions and to behave in a manner no matter what the female does. And I know this is going to sound crazy, just follow with me for a bit. So the woman
probably won't. You don't need to add those prefaces.
The woman can sound, it's for the people listening. The woman can be a total slut, drunk, all up over you, grinding on you, whatever. When you take an action, no matter what else is going around, it's your fault as the man. Other cultures, and this is largely Arabic cultures, tourists run into this often in Egypt and other places, the locus of control or the cultural expectation is not on the men, but it's on the women. The responsibility is for the woman to dress in a manner, to not be attractive, to not tempt the man, to not incite any manner of action. Yeah. And it's their responsibility to desexualize themselves. And it's kind of the opposite of what we've got. I think ours is better, honestly, but any sort of cultural expectation or norm that you have, somewhere there's going to be the other way around. Kind of like here in the U.S., we have streets that are named. In Japan, they name buildings. They don't have names for streets.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that ties into, I mean, we're talking about, like, global perceptions of sexuality. That's really complicated. But if you're talking about just the United States, I'm a fan of equality. I'm a fan of chivalry as well. Respect the fact that I don't have to carry a baby around in my fucking body for 9 months. And that's why I think, like, on issues of abortion, men shouldn't even be allowed to vote. How the fuck? Men should not even be allowed to vote on that. And like, the same issue with gay marriage. The only people that are qualified to talk about gay marriage are people that are gay. Because people that aren't these things, for the most part, when we all collectively get together and make each other dumber, don't really give a shit to imagine what it's like to be that person. In fact, we have so many resistances because of puritanical views that still exist to this day in this country. Literally came from puritanical Christians.
They were actually they were very open about sexuality. Believe it or not, if you didn't have sex, you could be excommunicated. Like kicked out of the group.
Well, they needed to populate the country.
Very true. But back to what you were saying, you're almost losing me here. I agree that not a lot of people take the time to fully go through the putting themselves in the other person's shoes. They just see that person's dumb, or they go with the self-interest no matter what. But as a collection, we have to vote collectively. If we used your analogy, what if, let's say, only lawyers got to vote on laws about lawyering, or only doctors got to vote on laws about doctoring, and just fuck everybody else? What kind of crazy shit would we be living in? And in your example, it makes a little more sense. Okay, women control their bodies, it's their decision, that sort of thing. But on the flip side of that, it's a man and a woman, it's their child together, and albeit she has to bear it, it's still part of you if you ever have a child. I don't think you're going to want to see it aborted and not have any sort of option in this, no voice whatsoever. And to some extent, that's how
I don't know, man.
Right
That's not. I don't agree with you, because I've met lots of. I know so many women that have had abortions. So many women. And the women that I talk to about the issue of abortion, they do not talk about it with shame or regret. They say, it's a shame that it happened, but I don't regret doing it. It would not have been suitable. It would not have been it was just not my time.
That's what I get.
Nobody's
happy about
it. There's this expectation. Well, accidents happen. Like, I'm not. Like, this is a divisive issue, and I'm telling you, like, I don't have an opinion one way or the other on abortion. I don't believe that my say matters, and so I just stay out of it. I don't really think about whether or not it's right or wrong, because I don't include myself in that process. I don't think I'm qualified to talk about it. I have no idea what it feels like to have life inside your womb, or what it feels like to really kind of intuitively know there's something in there.
Okay, then I'm just going to throw you a scenario here to throw you on a loop. It's a somewhat extreme one, but this is a real thing that people have to deal with, and that's why we have to construct our laws carefully. Let's say your girlfriend's name is Liz, right?
My wife's name is Liz.
Liz. Okay, wife's name is Liz. Sorry. Okay.
No, it's all right.
So let's say everything's going well with Liz, and she gets pregnant, and she's having a baby, and you're very happy, and you're stoked to be a dad, and you're getting your little baby stuff together. Okay. And then let's say, because for whatever reason you get drunk and you cheat on Liz with some other woman.
Yeah.
Liz is pissed off, and she says, you know what, fuck you, I hate you so much, I'm not going to let you have a son, I'm taking your baby away from you, I'm going to have an abortion tonight. How are you going to feel about that?
I have no control over that.
I think, no way.
Well, first of all, no. Well,
You're definitely going to have feelings
hear me
about
out.
that.